From the infamous words of the Sonic characters in modern Sonic games, long time no see. Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, and welcome back to Dragon Ball Super Reviews. Today we'll be doing the review of episode 88. This episode is titled Gohan and Piccolo, Teacher and Pupil, Clash, and Max Training. Oh boy, well, this episode pretty much covers majority of it being Gohan's training with Piccolo, and then also the recruitment of the new female Saiyan Cauliflower, which I really love that that's her name, because I actually did make a tweet about it way back when we got the scans of the female Broly that's supposed to appear in this survival tournament. And yes, I am aware that there's two female Saiyans, not just one. But when I heard the name Cauliflower, I couldn't help but fangasm a little bit, considering the fact that I was the one that thought up this name. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure a lot of people theorized that the name was going to be similar to a cauliflower, because cauliflower is basically broccoli's cousin, I guess. But it's good to see that that actually got taken into place. Now, yes, I also know that the more calmer female Saiyan, the one that actually is going to hulk out into the female Broly, isn't named Cauliflower. But, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Anyway, the episode primarily focuses on Gohan's training with Piccolo, and it's done rather well in a way that is sequenced and paced really well in equivalence to what was going on. You see, with Dragon Ball Super, it doesn't really tell you while these episodes are taking place, because it seems like a long time. I mean, this is the series that brought an entire 5 minutes into a span of almost 30 episodes. But you know what? Exaggerating aside, this was pretty good because it split the time. All of this is taking place while Goku is with Android 17, recruiting Android 17. So approximately around the time that Goku was fighting Fat Boo, or Skinny Boo in that case, and then going off to recruit 17, this was happening at the exact same time, which would also explain why it was raining around this point. So after that, basically Gohan unlocks his ultimate form, or re-unlocks it, and I will make a separate video discussing Gohan's ultimate form, because I feel that people need a breakdown on this form, not just newcomers that are jumping into Dragon Ball Super or haven't been familiar with Gohan's ultimate form, but for oldcomers who need just a better refresher and a better explanation of what the ultimate form is, because it wasn't really explained in Dragon Ball Z in the episodes that it took place in. It was sort of briefly grazed over, but after much time of watching episodes and playing games and looking through other sources of media to check this form out, I will make a separate video going over that. But anyway, the episode ends on a positive note with Gohan regaining his powers back, and then Piccolo telling Gohan that he can become much stronger, which makes us very hyped and anticipated for Gohan's growth as a character. The episode does a really good job of developing Gohan in a sense where it focuses on his flaws, not just in Dragon Ball Super, but just in general, the flaws that he had as a fighter. His cockiness, it's the thing that got him in trouble majority of times. They even bring this back in the flashback when they show off that Gohan was beating Majin Buu and he got overconfident and cocky and was having that badass, yeah, I'm here to kill you moment. Or even back, what I wish they had did is go back even further in Dragon Ball Z when Gohan was Super Saiyan 2 and was beating the crap out of Cell, and Gohan's like, no, I want to make him suffer. And it's those cocky little attitudes of Gohan standing at a weird little angle where we can only see one of his eyes and his head is slanted and he's looking at the screen with an angry look, and then going and saying, insert Gohan badass line here. That makes him a setup for disaster. And yes, Goku has that trait as well, but even Goku has found ways to cap limits on it. Gohan has the flaw of being overconfident, overconceited, which is what most of the younger Saiyans end up doing. But Goku has the problem of trying to give his villains mercy so that he can fight them again in rematches, which works some of the time, not all of the time. So that ends up happening, and the fact that it was even pointed out definitely made for very good development. Not just within Gohan, but within Piccolo. And I also do love the fact that they strengthened Piccolo a lot more to show off the fact that ever since time has been passing, he hasn't been slacking around. I mean, Piccolo is the former Guardian of Earth. He has Kami in him, and he's still built as a dragon/warrior Namekian. Like, he's still a fighter at heart. So, that was very well done, and it definitely increased the relationship with both of these characters. My con for this episode doesn't really fall into the episode itself, but to the entire premise of what's happening in this saga, and that's forcing Gohan to be a fighter again. Because if you don't truly know who Gohan is, then I guess it grazes over you that Gohan wasn't really aimed to be a fighter in all of the situations that he was fighting in. He more or less wanted to protect or survive. Those were usually Gohan's only options. In fact, Gohan was probably the most realistic out of all of the characters in Dragon Ball Z, just simply because the reason that Gohan fought so much was because he had no goddamn choice. He felt like he needed to fight in order to stay alive. He practically was living in the wild for a good chunk of his life, and then even then he was thrusted into battle. He had to witness all of his friends and family die in front of his face several times, and then even he had to fight on planet Namek, and he chose to be on planet Namek simply because he just had a premise that he didn't want to let fellow loved ones die again. So that's the weight that Gohan's been carrying on his shoulders for a long time, and to see him finally break those weights and become a father and a husband figure definitely helped Gohan become more of what he wanted to be, not what he had to be. But then this episode says, fuck all of that, we want Gohan to be ultimate again. In conclusion, like I said, this episode did a really great job. That con that I placed aside, this episode at least has the decency to bring Gohan back in a way that makes sense. I kind of wish that this episode had keyed in more of Gohan's will to protect Pan and Videl, like show flashes of them, and then that would at least justify why Gohan needs to bring out more of this power instead of him just going, I want to be stronger than... Like, that would have made him a lot better of a fighter, because he would have had something to fight for. But regardless, the episode was fairly enjoyable. The art style and animation was really good, and it was nice to see that Piccolo is actually a really strategic and strong fighter. What I mean by this is that there's this one moment where Gohan chops off Piccolo's arm, and Piccolo's arm's like flipping into the air, and then it turns into a special beam cannon and it hits Gohan in the back, and I thought that was freaking badass. So, with that said, the next episode is titled Episode 89, An Unknown Beauty Appears, the Tien Shin Style Dojo Mystery. With that said, I'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3, out.